The crystalline towers of Zephora glittered under the twin suns, their light reflecting like 1,000 tiny stars. Lysera, the alien princess, stood at the top balcony of the grand palace, watching the rivers of glowing liquid that flowed between the towers. The wind brushed against her silver-blue hair, lifting it gently, but the beauty of the world could not chase away the heaviness in her heart. Today she would be summoned to the council chamber for a decision that would shape her life forever. Inside, the palace buzzed with activity, servants moving with quiet efficiency, guards standing at attention, and holographic displays showing reports of distant planets. Lysera's father, the supreme commander of Zephora, was a stern figure known for his strategic brilliance and iron will. He had led the planet through decades of wars, alliances, and negotiations, always putting the needs of Zephora above personal feelings. But now he was demanding something that pierced straight through the core of Lysera's being. She had already received fragments of the news. Her father had chosen a human, Marcus, as her betrothed. Humans were rare visitors to Zephora, and their culture was distant, often incomprehensible to her people. From what she had learned, Marcus was a brilliant strategist, but his methods were harsh. Stories of ruthless decisions, cold calculations, and victories won at great costs were whispered across the galaxy. Her father believed that this alliance would secure Zephora's position in the galaxy, but to Lysera, it felt like a chain being placed around her spirit. Lysera walked down the long corridor toward the council chamber, her steps echoing against the polished crystal floors. Every step felt heavier than the last. She could hear the faint hum of the palace's energy grids, the soft chatter of servants, and the distant roar of hovercrafts gliding between towers. Everything seemed alive with motion, yet she felt frozen in time, trapped by her father's choice. As she entered the chamber, the doors slid open with a soft hiss. The council members were already seated, their eyes turning toward her. The Supreme Commander rose from his seat at the head of the table, his armor shining under the chamber's light. "Princess Lysera," he said, his voice calm but firm, "today I present to you the choice I have made for the future of Zephora." Lysera held her breath, her heart pounding. She knew what was coming. "This human, Marcus of Earth, shall be your betrothed," her father declared, his voice echoing through the chamber. "This alliance will bring strength, stability, and influence beyond our borders. It is for the good of our people. You are expected to accept." The words fell like heavy stones on Lysera's shoulders. Her body trembled, and for the first time in months tears welled up in her eyes. She blinked rapidly, trying to hold them back, but one escaped, rolling down her cheek. She was a princess, strong and capable, yet at that moment she felt powerless. She began, her voice barely above a whisper, but her father's piercing gaze stopped her. "You may speak, Lysera, but remember your duty," he said, his tone sharp. "Your personal feelings cannot outweigh the needs of our planet." Lysera swallowed hard. She looked around the chamber at the council members. Some nodded politely. Others watched her with mild curiosity. No one seemed to understand the storm raging inside her. She had always known her life would be filled with responsibility, but she had never imagined it would demand a choice that felt so against her nature. Her mind raced. Could she truly spend her life with someone she barely knew? Someone whose reputation was built on fear and cold strategy? Could she sacrifice her own heart for the sake of duty? The thought made her chest tighten. She excused herself from the chamber, the council murmuring softly behind her. She did not run, but her steps were swift as she made her way to the palace gardens, a secret place she often visited to find peace. The garden stretched over several levels, filled with glowing plants, floating streams, and delicate creatures that hovered in the air. The beauty of Zephora was supposed to soothe the soul, but today, it only reminded her of the freedom she was about to lose. Lysera found a quiet corner near a waterfall, its waters shimmering with light. She sank to her knees, hiding her face in her hands, and finally allowed herself to weep. Tears fell freely, tracing silver lines down her skin. She felt a mix of fear, sadness, and defiance. She did not want to marry Marcus. She could not. A soft rustle of wings alerted her to Kale, her loyal aide and friend. He hovered gently beside her, his green eyes full of concern. "Princess," he said softly, kneeling beside her, "I can see the pain in your heart. You are not weak for feeling this. You are strong for acknowledging it." Lysera looked up, her eyes red but resolute. "Kyle, I cannot marry him. I cannot live with someone whose reputation is built on cruelty. Even if he is brilliant, Even if it is what father wants. Her voice broke and she paused, taking a deep breath. I will not betray myself, Kyle. I will not betray my people by pretending to accept this. Kyle nodded solemnly. Then we must be careful. Your father is determined, and many will see refusal as rebellion. But there are ways to navigate this. You are not alone. Lysera's heart stirred with hope. Even in her despair, she realized that she had allies who understood her, who would stand with her. She wiped her tears and rose, determination shining in her eyes. She would not submit blindly, but neither would she act recklessly. She needed a plan, and she needed to understand Marcus before making any decisions. That evening, in the quiet of her chambers, Lysera accessed the palace's communication network. She studied reports, messages, and logs from across the galaxy. Marcus's reputation was indeed formidable, but the more she read, the more she noticed inconsistencies. Some reports painted him as ruthless, yes, but others spoke of moments of mercy, unexpected acts of kindness, and careful strategies that saved countless lives. Lysera leaned back, thinking, perhaps he was not the monster her father feared she might see. Perhaps humans were more complex than the stories told. Her heart was still wary, but curiosity sparked in its place. She needed to know more. Late into the night, Lysera continued her research, poring over maps of human colonies, battle reports, and personal logs. Each discovery added a layer to the puzzle. Marcus was cautious, intelligent, and disciplined. He valued loyalty and honor, even if his methods sometimes seemed harsh to outsiders. As the twin suns of Zephora set, bathing the palace in soft violet light, Lysera made a silent vow. She would meet Marcus. She would see for herself who he truly was. She would not blindly follow her father's command, but she would not act recklessly either. She needed knowledge, courage, and a plan. Her mind raced with possibilities. Could she persuade her father to reconsider? Could she find a way to reject the marriage without dishonoring her planet? And if Marcus was not as ruthless as rumored, could she find a way to work with him rather than against him? Lysera stood at her balcony once more, the stars beginning to sparkle across the darkening sky. The palace was quiet now, and the city below shimmered like a river of light. She let the wind lift her hair again, feeling a strange mix of fear and resolve. She would not be a pawn. She would make her own choice. And so the first step of her journey began, not across the galaxy, not into battle or political intrigue, but within herself. She had to face her fears, understand the truth, and prepare for the day she would confront both her father and the human chosen for her. Lysera whispered into the night, her voice barely audible over the rustle of leaves and the hum of distant hovercrafts. I will find my path. I will not betray my heart, and I will not allow fear to guide my life. The palace seemed to hold its breath as if listening. The journey ahead would be long, filled with danger, discovery, and choices that could change the fate of Zephora itself. But for the first time, Lysera felt something she had not felt in months: hope. Tomorrow the council would reconvene. Tomorrow she would have to face the impossible. But tonight, under the twin moons and the sparkling stars of Zephora, the alien princess wept, not in defeat, but in the quiet strength of one who refused to surrender. The morning light spilled over Zephora's crystalline towers, turning the city into a river of sparkling gold and violet. Lysera walked through the palace corridors with quiet determination. Her heart still ached from yesterday's council meeting, yet she felt a new sense of purpose. She would not blindly accept her father's decision, and she would learn the truth about Marcus. She moved through the palace gardens, where soft light reflected from floating ponds and glowing plants.
Kale followed silently, hovering beside her.
He had been her companion for years, loyal, wise, and discreet. Together, they had planned many secret explorations and missions across the palace grounds. But this challenge was unlike any other. Princess, Kale said softly, if you truly wish to understand Marcus, you must see him beyond the reports. You must observe him for yourself, Lysera nodded. I will not allow fear or rumor to decide my life. If he is truly ruthless, I will know. If there is kindness within him, I will see it too. I need the truth. Cal smiled faintly. Then we must be careful. Your father will watch closely. Any hint of defiance could create chaos in the palace. Lysera's lips pressed together. She had faced danger before, but political danger was different. Here, one wrong step could ruin not only her life, but also the lives of those loyal to her. Still, she felt courage stirring inside her. She was determined to act wisely. The palace's central communication hub was hidden in the archives, accessible only to the royal family and a few trusted aides. Lysera entered the room and holographic screens lit up around her. The screens displayed reports from across the galaxy, communications from distant planets, and records of human activity. Kale handed her a datapad. These are the most complete records we could gather. Take your time. Study them carefully. Lysera's eyes moved over the reports, her mind sharp and focused. Marcus's reputation was indeed formidable. The report spoke of battles won with precise strategy and efficient command. Some accounts described ruthlessness, but others hinted at careful planning to minimize loss of life, unexpected acts of mercy, and fairness to those who surrendered. Lysera leaned back, absorbing the information. Humans were different from her people. They did not operate by the same codes, and their motivations were often harder to read. But she sensed complexity, depth, and perhaps even morality in Marcus's decisions. Kale hovered closer. See? Even in the reports, there is more than one side to him. The stories of cruelty may be exaggerated or taken out of context. You must remember that humans are unpredictable, yet capable of great honor. Lysera nodded slowly. I need to see him for myself. I cannot make a choice based solely on stories. Her mind raced with possibilities. How could she arrange a meeting without alarming her father or the council? She could not appear defiant, yet she needed personal insight. Kale suggested a subtle approach. Marcus was due to arrive on Zephora soon to prepare for diplomatic discussions. They could find a quiet moment to observe him discreetly. The day passed slowly. Lysera moved through her duties with care, attending formal events, greeting ambassadors, and overseeing palace functions. Her demeanor remained calm, but her thoughts were elsewhere. She imagined Marcus arriving, wondering what he would look like, how he would behave, and whether he would live up to the ruthless reputation that had frightened her. As evening approached, a communication arrived. It was from Marcus himself, sent through secure channels. Lysera's hands trembled slightly as she activated the holographic message. The figure of a human appeared, tall, with dark hair and eyes that seemed to search for honesty in the viewer. Princess Lysera, he said, his voice steady but gentle, I understand this message may surprise you. I am aware of the arrangement your father has made. I do not intend to impose myself. I wish only to meet you, to show that there is more to me than the reports suggest. If you are willing, I ask for a brief conversation in private. Lysera's heart skipped a beat. This was unexpected. Marcus was reaching out personally, showing initiative and, most importantly, respect for her choice. She glanced at Kale, who gave a small nod of approval. We will arrange it, Kale said quietly. But we must be careful. Your father must not know until it is safe. Lysera spent the night planning. She chose a secluded area in the palace gardens, where the glowing streams and floating plants would hide them from prying eyes. The location was beautiful yet secure, offering a perfect place for a discreet meeting. The next day, as Marcus's ship arrived, Lysera remained in her chambers, watching through a secure observation point. The ship landed with quiet precision, its engines humming softly against the crystal towers. Marcus stepped out, moving with confidence but without arrogance. He observed his surroundings with curiosity, respect, and alertness. Lysera felt a strange mix of emotions, fear, anticipation, and a growing sense of intrigue. This human was not the cold, ruthless figure she had imagined. There was intelligence and awareness in his every movement. With Kale's assistance, Lysera descended to the garden. She moved through the glowing plants, careful to remain unseen, and watched Marcus from a distance. He examined the surroundings with a thoughtful gaze, noting the paths, the streams, and the bridges. He paused at one point, as if sensing something unusual, but then continued on, never disturbing the delicate ecosystem. Lysera's heart raced. Marcus was careful, observant, and considerate. He respected the space he entered, unlike the ruthless conquerors described in her father's reports. She felt a flicker of hope. Perhaps he could be different. Kale whispered beside her. Observe his actions, not the stories. This is the real Marcus. Minutes passed. Lysera's nerves calmed as she realized she could trust her instincts. She stepped slightly closer, still hidden among the plants, and saw Marcus pause again. He seemed to sense her presence. His gaze swept the area, searching, yet there was no hostility in his eyes. Finally, Marcus spoke, though he could not see her directly. "I know someone watches me. Princess Lysera, I mean no harm. I only seek understanding. If you wish, we can meet and I will answer any questions you have." Lysera's breath caught. He acknowledged her presence, offered dialogue, and allowed her choice. This was not the behavior of a ruthless man. It was the behavior of someone who respected autonomy and honesty. That night, Lysera could not sleep. She replayed the day in her mind, examining every movement, every gesture of Marcus. He was a puzzle, complex and layered. She felt a mixture of relief and caution. Perhaps humans were not as simple as her father claimed. Perhaps Marcus was capable of honor, integrity, and even empathy. Cale stayed by her side as he always did, sensing her turmoil. "You are learning, Princess," he said softly. "Do not rush. Observe, listen, and trust your judgment. This is a rare opportunity." Lysera nodded, her resolve strengthening. She would meet Marcus when the time was right, and she would see the truth with her own eyes. She would not allow rumors or fear to dictate her choice. The following morning, she approached her father with a calm but determined expression. "Father," she said, "I wish to understand Marcus before accepting any decisions. I must meet him to see who he truly is." Her father's eyes narrowed, but he did not immediately respond. The council had always respected Lysera's wisdom, even if they disagreed with her choices. After a long pause, he said, "Very well, but be cautious. Remember that this arrangement is for the good of Zyphora. Do not act recklessly." Lysera bowed respectfully. "I will not, father. But I must know the truth for myself." And so the stage was set. The alien princess, determined to follow her heart while navigating duty and diplomacy, prepared for the meeting that could change. The hidden garden glowed softly under the twin moons of Zyphora, casting silver and violet light across the floating streams and delicate plants. Lysera's heart beat faster as she moved through the paths, careful to remain unseen. Tonight she would finally meet Marcus, the human her father had chosen for her, in a place where neither political scrutiny nor palace guards could reach them. She paused near a small waterfall, its water shimmering in the soft moonlight. The sound of the flowing water calmed her racing mind. For weeks she had studied reports, listened to Cale's advice, and watched from a distance, trying to understand Marcus. But now, the truth would reveal itself face to face. A soft rustle echoed through the garden, and Lysera instinctively crouched behind a glowing fern. Marcus emerged from the shadows, tall and composed, his dark eyes scanning the garden. There was no armor this time, no display of rank or power. He moved with quiet confidence, each step careful not to disturb the fragile beauty around him. Lysera's breath caught. He looked nothing like the ruthless figure she had imagined from reports. His presence was commanding yet gentle. She wondered briefly if her father had exaggerated Marcus's harshness, or if the humans were simply misunderstood. Marcus paused beneath a large luminescent tree and spoke softly, as if he could sense her hiding. "Princess Lysera, I know you watch. I do not wish to frighten you. I only wish to speak." Lysera stepped out slowly, keeping her gaze steady. She saw no weapon in his hands, no hint of aggression. Only honesty, perhaps curiosity, shone in his eyes. I wanted to see for myself," Lysera said, her voice trembling slightly. "I have read reports about you, but I wanted to know the truth." Marcus inclined his head respectfully. "I understand. Many stories are told of me that are not entirely accurate. I do not deny mistakes, but I strive to act with honor. I value life, loyalty, and fairness. I hope that in time you will see this for yourself." Lysera studied him closely. There was a strange sincerity in his tone, a depth that the reports had never conveyed. She felt a mix of caution and curiosity. Could this human, so different from her own people, truly be more than the rumors suggested? "I have a question," she said carefully. "Your father and my father speak of alliances, power, and duty. But what do you truly value, Marcus?" He paused, considering her words. "I value trust, Princess. Trust cannot be demanded or forced. It must be earned. And I respect those who show courage, wisdom, and compassion. I have read much about Zyphora and its people, and I admire strength of character above all else." Lysera felt a flicker of hope. Perhaps he was not the ruthless man her father feared she would marry. Perhaps humans, despite their differences, could share values similar to hers. She wondered if this alliance could become something more than a political tool. Kale's voice echoed softly in her mind, reminding her to observe carefully. Lysera nodded, silently agreeing. She needed to know more before making any decision. I want to understand you, Lysera said. Not just the human you are in public or in war, but the person you are when no one is watching. Marcus smiled faintly. Then we must learn from each other. Actions often reveal more than words. At that moment, a sudden noise startled them both. From the distance, a patrol of mercenaries, rogue operatives not loyal to the palace, had entered the outer garden, moving swiftly through the shadows. They were searching for something, perhaps someone. Lysera's heart pounded. She had not expected danger tonight. Marcus's eyes sharpened, scanning the area with alert precision. Stay close to me, he said calmly. Do not panic, Lysera nodded, moving beside him. Together they navigated the hidden paths of the garden, the flowing streams and glowing plants masking their movement. Marcus led with careful steps, analyzing the patrol's patterns and avoiding detection. As they reached a narrow bridge over a floating pond, a stray mercenary spotted movement. A warning shout pierced the night. Lysera's pulse raced, but Marcus acted swiftly. He grabbed her hand and pulled her to safety behind a cluster of luminous plants. His actions were precise, controlled, and protective, showing skill and decisiveness without unnecessary force. Lysera realized, in that moment, that Marcus's reputation for ruthlessness might have been misunderstood. He was strategic, yes, but not cruel. He acted to protect, to preserve, and to achieve his goals without unnecessary harm. The mercenaries moved past, confused by the shadows and illusions of the garden. Lysera exhaled slowly, her body trembling. Marcus turned to her, concern in his eyes. Are you all right? He asked. Lysera nodded, feeling a mixture of relief and admiration. Yes, because you were here. You saved me. Marcus smiled gently. We saved each other. That is how trust begins. For the first time, Lysera felt a connection beyond duty or observation. This human, so far removed from her world, had shown courage, intelligence, and care. She began to wonder if perhaps her father's choice was not entirely wrong. Not because she had to accept it, but because Marcus might truly be a person worth knowing. They moved deeper into the garden, finding a quiet alcove where the moonlight painted the floating plants in silver and violet. They sat across from each other, the silence filled with unspoken understanding. You are not as others have said, Lysera admitted softly. You are not ruthless, at least not in the way my father described. But I must know, can you work with someone like me? Someone who values compassion, who refuses to act solely for power? Marcus's gaze held hers. I do not seek power for its own sake, Princess. I seek balance, fairness, and wisdom. I will not force you into anything. But if we are to work together, we must learn to understand each other even with our differences. Lysera felt her heart lift slightly. His words were measured, honest, and free from pretense. She realized that Marcus was not a tyrant to fear, but a puzzle to understand, a person whose methods were shaped by experience, not cruelty. Kale watched silently from a distance, his eyes reflecting cautious optimism. Lysera and Marcus were building trust, slowly and carefully, without words of command or expectation. Hours passed as they spoke quietly, sharing their views, their fears, and their hopes for their people. Lysera learned of Marcus's early life on Earth, his struggles, and the choices that had shaped him. She saw a man driven not by ambition alone, but by a desire to protect, to learn, and to grow. And Marcus, in turn, listened to Lysera's stories of Zephora, the beauty of the crystal towers, the wisdom of her advisors, the hopes of her people. He admired her courage, her intelligence, and her empathy. By the time the twin moons had risen high in the sky, a quiet understanding had formed between them. Lysera realized that she could not judge Marcus solely by his reputation, nor could she blindly trust him without knowing his heart. But she also realized that perhaps together they could face the challenges ahead, political, personal, and interstellar. Marcus finally stood, offering his hand to her. We should return before the palace notices we are gone. But this is only the beginning, Princess Lysera. There is much to learn, and much to understand. Lysera took his hand, feeling a sense of strength and partnership she had not known before. Yes, Marcus, the morning sun rose over Zephora's crystal towers, painting the city in soft gold and violet light. Lysera and Marcus met at the palace gates, ready for the journey to the disputed frontier world. This mission, Marcus explained, was not only a test of his leadership but also an opportunity for Lysera to witness firsthand his methods and choices. Lysera adjusted her travel cloak and looked at him. He seemed calm, prepared, and respectful as always. She realized she had begun to trust him, but the thought made her uneasy. Trust was not something she could give lightly, not in a world where alliances could mean life or death. The journey to the frontier was aboard Marcus's ship, a sleek human vessel with engines that hummed softly, carrying them through the atmosphere and into the stars. Lysera had never traveled in a ship quite like this. The interior was simple, efficient, and functional, yet it radiated a sense of human ingenuity that fascinated her. "Princess Lysera," Marcus said as he guided her to a viewing window, "I hope this journey will give you insight. The frontier world is harsh, unpredictable, and dangerous. We will see how both humans and Xiphorians must adapt to survive." Lysera nodded. "I am ready to learn, and I hope to understand you better as well." Hours passed as the stars streaked past, the ship moving faster than any Xiphorian vessel Lysera had seen. She observed Marcus quietly, noting how he checked instruments, reviewed maps, and communicated with the ship's crew. His precision and focus impressed her. This was not recklessness. It was discipline, skill, and responsibility. When they arrived at the frontier world, the landscape was immediately striking. Jagged cliffs jutted from the ground, rivers of molten minerals flowed like liquid fire, and violent storms swept across the barren plains. The air was thick with energy, and the gravity slightly heavier than Zephora's, testing her body in subtle ways. "This is the challenge," Marcus said, his eyes scanning the horizon. "We must navigate this terrain, locate the hidden base of the mercenaries who threaten this region, and secure the area for the local settlers. It will test our strategy, patience, and courage." Lysera's heart raced, but she felt a thrill of excitement. This was unlike anything she had experienced in the palace. Here her decisions, skills, and wits would matter, and she would witness Marcus in action, not just through reports or whispers. They began their descent to the surface in small pods, carefully avoiding unstable rock formations and dangerous currents of molten material. Marcus guided Lysera with steady hands, explaining each step. His voice was calm, patient, and reassuring, a sharp contrast to the cold reputation she had feared. Once they landed, the harsh winds of the frontier world buffeted them. Lysera clutched her cloak, feeling the raw power of the environment. Marcus moved ahead with confidence, scanning the area, marking paths through the jagged cliffs and noting safe zones where they could rest or hide. "This world demands respect," he said. "We cannot dominate it. We must understand it, adapt, and act wisely." Lysera nodded. She realized that his approach, though different from her father's, was effective. Marcus did not rely on fear or brute force. He relied on knowledge, observation, and careful planning. She began to see why he had succeeded in the human world despite the challenges he faced. Hours later, they encountered the first real danger, a patrol of mercenaries guarding the entrance to a hidden base. Lysera's instincts screamed caution, yet she felt ready to act, guided by Marcus's strategy. He crouched behind a rock formation and whispered instructions. "Follow my lead. Move silently. Do not engage unless necessary. Observe first." Together they crept through the jagged rocks, their movements synchronized, their senses alert. Lysera was amazed at how naturally Marcus commanded respect, without raising his voice or issuing harsh orders. His authority came from skill, intelligence, and the trust he inspired in those around him. Suddenly, one of the mercenaries turned and spotted movement. Marcus acted instantly. He grabbed Lysera and pulled her behind a boulder, keeping her safe. With careful precision, he created a distraction that drew the patrol away, allowing them to move closer to the base undetected. Lysera's heart pounded. The danger was real, yet she felt a strange sense of exhilaration. Marcus had proven that he could handle life-threatening situations without cruelty, and that he valued her safety as much as his own. After they reached a secure position, Marcus turned to her. "You handled yourself well," he said. "Your observations, your quick thinking, they are impressive. Xiphorians are clever, but courage under pressure is rare." Lysera felt a surge of pride. She had feared she would be helpless in the humans' world, but she realized she could contribute, that her presence mattered, and that together, they were stronger. As night fell on the frontier world, they made camp in a small cavern shielded from storms. Marcus started a small energy shield to protect them, while Lysera examined the surrounding terrain. The quiet moments allowed them to speak more freely. Marcus, Lysera said, I have seen the reports of your ruthlessness, but tonight I have seen your true nature. You are not the man I was told to fear. You are different. Marcus smiled faintly. Thank you, Princess. It is easy to be misunderstood when one operates in difficult circumstances. People often see the results but not the reasoning behind them. Lysera nodded thoughtfully. I believe that, and I want to understand you fully. Not as a leader or strategist, but as a person. I want to see how you think, how you decide, and how you feel. Marcus regarded her seriously. I respect that, Lysera. Few ask to understand rather than judge. It takes courage to seek truth, especially in a world full of expectations and fear. The night passed quietly, the storms raging outside, but the cavern providing shelter. Lysera and Marcus shared stories, spoke of their hopes for their people, and discussed strategies to secure the frontier. They found common ground, discovering that despite their differences, they shared values of loyalty, courage, and empathy. By morning, they faced the final challenge, infiltrating the mercenary base and securing the region. Marcus explained the plan with calm authority, assigning roles that utilized both his skills and Lysera's knowledge of Zephora's advanced technology. The approach was tense. The mercenaries were alert, their movements unpredictable. Yet Marcus's strategy was precise, his instructions clear, but not commanding in a way that demanded blind obedience. Lysera followed his lead, contributing her insights and improvising when necessary. Together they neutralized the threat, capturing the mercenaries and securing the base without unnecessary harm. When the operation was complete, Lysera looked at Marcus with newfound respect. He had shown not only skill and intelligence but also morality, restraint, and the ability to inspire cooperation without fear. She realized that perhaps her father's description of him as ruthless had been incomplete or misleading. Marcus was not cruel. He was disciplined, strategic, and ethical, and he had earned her trust through action. As they returned to their ship, the frontier world's harsh landscape fading behind them, Lysera felt a sense of accomplishment and clarity. She had faced danger, observed Marcus closely, and discovered his true character. The human was not the tyrant she had feared. He was a partner, a strategist, and a person capable of respect and empathy. Kale's voice reached her mind. You have seen much tonight, Princess. Your judgment is sound. You can now make decisions based on truth, not fear or rumor. Lysera nodded, her heart steady. She knew the path ahead would still be filled with challenges. Her father, the council, and the political consequences of her choices. But she also knew that she was not powerless. She had agency, knowledge, and now a human ally who had proven himself in action, not just in reputation. As the ship returned to Zyphora, Lysera stared at the stars, feeling a sense of purpose she had not known before. She would not submit blindly to her father's will. She would not marry without understanding, trust, and respect. And she had learned that Marcus, the human she was meant to fear, could become a source of strength, partnership, and perhaps even friendship. The princess realized that the trials of the frontier world, the grand palace of Zyphora, was quiet that morning, but an undercurrent of tension hummed through the halls. Princess Lysera walked steadily toward the council chamber, her steps measured and her mind clear. Today she would confront her father, the supreme commander, and make a choice that would determine her future. She had seen Marcus, learned from him, and discovered the truth behind his reputation. He was not ruthless, as her father had described, but disciplined, strategic, and capable of honor. He had earned her trust through action and courage. Now, Lysera had to decide how to act, not just for herself but for her people. Kale hovered nearby, his green eyes filled with quiet support. Princess, remember, courage is necessary, but wisdom must guide your words, he reminded her. Your father is formidable, but your conviction is stronger when it is true. Lysera nodded. She had planned her approach carefully. She would speak from the heart, acknowledge her duty, and assert her independence. She would not act recklessly, but she would not bend to fear or expectation either. The council chamber doors slid open, revealing the supreme commander seated at the head of the table. His eyes immediately fell on Lysera, sharp and calculating. Around him, the council members watched with curiosity and caution. Princess Lysera, her father said, his voice calm but authoritative. You have returned from your journey. I trust you have seen Marcus and are prepared to accept the decision I have made. Lysera took a deep breath and stepped forward.
Father, she began, her voice steady, I have seen Marcus.
I have observed him, spoken with him, and watched how he acts in the face of danger. I understand why you believe he would be a strong ally for Zyphora. But I have also seen who he truly is beyond reports and rumors. Her father's eyes narrowed. And what have you seen, Princess? Do not waste my time with hesitation. Lysera's gaze met his, unwavering. I have seen courage, wisdom, and honor. Marcus is not ruthless in the way the stories claim. He is strategic, disciplined, and capable of respecting others. He values life and loyalty, not fear or domination. The council murmured softly, but Lysera continued. I cannot marry someone merely because it is demanded. I cannot allow fear, duty, or reputation to dictate my choices. I must act with understanding, respect, and conviction. If I am to accept this alliance, it must be because I choose it, not because I am ordered to. Her father's expression was unreadable, a mask of authority hiding the stir of emotions beneath. You dare to speak of choice when the future of Zyphora is at stake? He asked sharply. You risk dishonor and chaos. Do you not understand the consequences? Lysera's voice grew stronger. I understand, Father. But dishonor is not in refusing blindly. Chaos comes not from choice, but from fear and deception. I have learned that Marcus is capable, honorable, and worthy of trust. I will not submit to an arrangement that ignores truth. But I will act in the best interest of Zyphora, with knowledge, courage, and judgment. The Supreme Commander leaned back in his seat, studying his daughter. He had always known she was intelligent and strong-willed, but today her resolve was different. It was no longer just a child's defiance, it was the deliberate clarity of someone who had seen, learned, and understood. Very well, he said finally, his tone measured. You have observed, you have judged, and you have chosen. But tell me, Princess, what is your decision? Lysera's heart beat steadily. She would not falter. I choose to meet Marcus as an equal, to work with him and to learn from him. I will not marry out of fear. But I will consider partnership based on trust, understanding, and respect. If an alliance is to be formed, it will be because it is right, not because it is forced. A silence fell over the chamber. The council members exchanged glances, some impressed, others wary. Lysera felt Kyle's presence beside her, steady and encouraging. Her father's gaze softened slightly, though his voice remained strong. You have grown, Lysera. Perhaps I underestimated your judgment. I see now that leadership is not only about obedience, but also about understanding and discernment. Very well. You may proceed, but know that the path ahead will not be easy. Trust must be earned and alliances tested. Lysera bowed respectfully. I understand, Father, and I am prepared to face the challenges, with wisdom and courage. Later that day, Marcus arrived at the palace for a formal meeting. Lysera greeted him personally, her confidence shining. There was no fear, only curiosity and determination. Princess Lysera, Marcus said, bowing slightly, I am honored to meet you formally. I hope I have not overstepped in our previous encounters. Lysera smiled faintly.
You have not, Marcus.
You have shown me who you truly are, and for that I am grateful. We have much to discuss, and I look forward to learning from each other. The palace council observed as the human and the alien princess spoke openly. They discussed strategy, alliances, and the challenges facing Zyphora. Lysera realized that Marcus's reputation as ruthless was misleading. He was disciplined, thoughtful, and committed to fair outcomes. His intelligence and adaptability complemented her own abilities. As the hours passed, Lysera felt a sense of partnership growing. She began to see the potential for a relationship not based on obligation, but on mutual respect, trust, and shared purpose. She realized that her father's choice, while initially frightening, could become an opportunity for both personal growth and planetary strength, if approached wisely. That evening, Lysera and Marcus walked together in the palace gardens. The glowing streams and floating plants shimmered under the twin moons. The air was filled with the scent of luminous blossoms and the soft hum of energy from the palace's systems. Princess, Marcus said quietly, I hope you do not feel pressured. I respect your judgment and your right to choose. If this alliance is to succeed, it must be because we earn trust, not because it is demanded. Lysera looked at him, her eyes steady and thoughtful. Marcus, I see now that true strength comes from understanding, courage, and honesty. You have proven yourself not by fear or force, but by action and integrity. I respect you for that, and I am willing to work with you, to learn from you, and to see where this path leads. Marcus's expression softened. Then we will face the future together as partners, not because it is expected, but because it is right. Lysera nodded. She felt a sense of clarity she had never known. The fears of the past, the rumors, the warnings, the expectations were replaced by understanding, purpose, and trust. She had made her own choice, guided by reason and heart, and it had led her to a partnership built on respect, not obligation. Kale watched silently, proud of the princess. She had faced fear, danger, and uncertainty, and emerged stronger, wiser, and more capable. Lysera had proven that courage was not the absence of fear, but the ability to act wisely despite it. Days passed, and Lysera and Marcus continued their discussions, exploring strategies for the galaxy, strengthening alliances, and learning from each other. The palace began to see the benefits of this partnership. Marcus's presence brought insight, innovation, and a perspective that complemented Zephora's traditions. Lysera's wisdom and courage guided decisions, ensuring that every action was thoughtful, strategic, and ethical. Finally, the Supreme Commander called a council meeting to recognize the alliance. Lysera stood beside Marcus, her confidence unwavering. She addressed the council with clear, calm authority. This alliance is not formed by fear or obligation, she said. It is formed by understanding, trust, and shared purpose. Marcus has proven himself capable, honorable, and strategic. Together we will guide Zephora with wisdom, courage, and integrity. Our decisions will be based on reason, respect, and the needs of our people. The council members listened, some nodding in approval, others silently acknowledging her strength. Lysera realized that she had not only rejected the fear-driven path her father had chosen for her, but she had also created a new path, one of partnership, integrity, and shared leadership. Her father observed quietly, a hint of pride in his eyes. "You have chosen wisely, Lysera," he said finally. "You have grown into a leader not only of our people, but of your own destiny. I respect your judgment and the courage it took to act upon it." Lysera bowed respectfully. "Thank you, Father. I will continue